Please start the call, sir.
Yeah. A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for all joining this important webinar hosted by Somireddy Law Group on the hidden crisis surrounding the birthright citizenship in the light of the executive order that has been issued on January 22nd, 2025, and the Supreme Court's ruling on the nationwide injunction on June 27, 2025, and the executive order which affects the birthright citizenship is said to be enforced starting July 27, 2025, under the directive of the US Supreme Court. There has been many unanswered questions and the widespread confusion surrounding this issue, which is why we have titled this today's session as The Hidden Crisis of Birthright Citizenship. And let me tell you one more thing, the most important update we got a few hours back on the birthright citizenship comes from the recent decision by the federal court in the New Hampshire. We'll be discussing what exactly has happened. So did the court grant an injunction against the executive order nationwide or not? This webinar is held to clarify the legal implications, the constitutional debates, and the potential impact on the families across the United States. Our attorney is here to answer all your questions and guide you during this hidden crisis times. We are honored to have us today Mr. Santosh Somireddy, who is a founding partner and attorney of the Somireddy Law Group, and Mr. Vijay Yellareddigari, managing partner and attorney of the Somireddy Law Group, and Mr. Joshua, attorney who is specializing in the constitutional litigation. Throughout this session, our attorney is going to discuss with the n number of the questions and n number of the topics on the constitutional debates and so on. Before we begin, I would like to make it clear that information shared in this session is only for the general information purpose only. The answers and the discussions presented here does not constitute the legal advice and should not be relied upon as such. For guidance specific to your individual situation, we strongly recommend you to consult directly with the licensed attorney, and thank you for understanding. So, Mr. Santosh, so can you please introduce yourself for a while?
Sorry, I'm not feeling well, so let's start with Josh and Vijay. Let me get
yeah, thank you. Thanks.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yes.
I'll step in when needed.
Yeah. So, Mr. Dr. Josh, so could you please begin by explaining what exactly is birthright citizenship? What exactly does the 14th Amendment talks about?
Sure, thanks, Sai. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so birthright citizenship is this long-standing principle we've had in the United States that if a child is born on U.S. soil, that they automatically become a citizen. The 14th Amendment was introduced after the Civil War, after we had the issues of slavery in the United States, and the southern states were continuing to deny the rights of citizenship to the slaves after the Civil War. So there was some legislative action and then eventually a constitutional action. It was hotly contested at the time. The states were, the southern states were required to ratify it to have representation in Congress. The first part of the 14th Amendment is what we're concerned about in this case. And I'll just read it for you. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So that's what it says. It's pretty plain language, but recently, as you identified, the Trump administration has taken issue with it and said, essentially, in their opinion, that birthright citizenship does not apply to certain classes of individuals because they, and this is where they kind of parse out a portion of that 14th Amendment, because they're saying they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That's essentially their argument. And this is Executive Order 14160. So that's kind of sets a stage for what we're dealing with in this case.
Yeah. So can you also please explain what exactly has happened in the 1898 with respect to the Wong Kim Ark case?
To which one?
The Wong Kim Ark case. It's a Chinese.
So I don't have that in front of me. I won't be able to go through that whole case right now, but that's a case that's used throughout the complaints, throughout the complaints that have been filed fighting this executive order that are saying that we have a long history of accepting children born on U.S. soil as U.S. citizens is essentially what the case is saying. So That's been used throughout the filings. I've read through the filings that have been fighting this executive order, and that case is repeatedly cited there as valid authority to kind of fight that.
Yeah. So, Dr. Josh, so for example, if a child is born today, so would they still be granted US citizenship or not? For example, today.
Well, that's a real question, right? Traditionally, yes. I mean, traditionally, the children born on U.S. soil have always been granted citizenship, at least since we kind of settled this with the 14th Amendment. What the executive order does is kind of sets that aside and takes a shot at two groups of people, really. The first are immigrants that are unlawfully in the country, or undocumented immigrants, saying that, hey, if you've entered the country unlawfully, then you're not subject to the under the 14th Amendment, subject. How does it read? Read it. The subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and therefore neither you are a citizen nor is your child. The second part, I think, is more nefarious in nature. That says when a person's mother's presence is in the United States, even if she's here lawfully, but it's temporary. So say on a work visa, a student visa, a visiting visa, even if she's here lawfully and the father is not a U.S. citizen, that those children also are not citizens. And that tends to be the prong that is drawing the most attention, because of course it throws everything into question as far as the great number of people that we have enter the country as under lawful status. And yet their children would not be considered citizens then if they were born in the country while they're on that lawful status.
Thank you, Dr. Josh. And Mr. Vijay, so may I ask, so what exactly has happened in the Supreme Court regarding the nationwide injunction?
Sure, there were 3 cases filed in 3 different jurisdictions arguing exactly what Josh had described, right? Yeah. Stating that this executive order is unconstitutional. And so what happened is the district courts in those jurisdictions ruled that it's unlawful, and they issued a temporary injunction nationwide, preventing this executive order from going into effect nationwide. So then it was appealed through the appellate courts all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. At the Supreme Court level, the Supreme Court has decided that a district court in a specific district, whether it be Maryland or Virginia or New Jersey, wherever, they can't make a decision for the entire country. So that's what the decision was at the Supreme Court level. There was no ruling specifically whether this executive order was valid or not. The ruling was strictly on procedural aspect that a district court, a U.S. district court in a specific jurisdiction can't issue a nationwide injunction. That's what that ruling was.
So did they mention anything about the birthright citizenship?
Birthright citizenship, yeah. So obviously the case was stemming from birthright citizenship, right? The 3 jurisdictions that were appealed from were cases related to birthright citizenship. The cases were brought to fight President Trump's executive order 14160. So they didn't specifically say birthright citizenship is a constitutional right or that it isn't. They didn't rule on that. Their ruling was strictly on procedural aspect.
Is it true that so they have given a 30 days time frame from the July 27, 2025, the birthright citizenship executive order will be enforced? So that's what they stated. Is it true?
Yes. So if you go back to the actual executive order, the executive order was signed in January 20th, 2025, and it was supposed to take in effect 30 days later, which was February 19th, 2025. Then these appeals kind of took place, and the Supreme Court ruled on June 27th, 2025. So they still gave that 30-day window to make that executive order effective, because there was a lot of unknown variables. People didn't know what was going on, especially with the appeals going on. So the Supreme Court gave that 30-day timeline. So that executive order is going to go into effect on the 27th of this month.
Yeah. So does that mean so the child born between the June 27, 2025 to the July 27, 2025, are the US citizens or not?
Well, that's the big question, right? That's the $1 million question. No one knows the answer to that. In theory, yes. Legally speaking, that should be the case. But based on how things are being done right now, if a child is born today, which is July 10th today, can they get their passport and everything in place in time? I think it's a tight window. So I'm going to say probably. I can't definitively say that yet because there's still so many cases that are pending before the court. But it's likely.
So, Dr. Joshua, turning to the uncertainty ahead. So, what usually happens after July 27 if the order is enforced?
So to answer that, let me back up a little bit because it might be helpful for the people that are on the call to understand procedurally why that injunction is important, right? So you have a case that's been filed to set aside this executive order, to say, look, that's not how the Constitution works, and have the court say, President Trump, you may not do that. That's the case. What the injunction does is says, look, the executive order can't be put into effect until the case is decided. Right, so it puts everything on hold until the case is decided. If the injunction is effective, well, then it does two things. One, it gives the plaintiffs in the case some level of certainty that nothing is going to happen to them until the court hears the case, right? What the CASA case did is set aside that injunction for the rest of the nation. And they said only the plaintiffs in that case, that's the only one the injunction will apply to. Now, since we're talking about childbirth, you're talking about a time period that is certain, right? And if the plaintiffs have a child while the injunction is still in effect, right, the Trump order will not take effect, and the child would be granted citizenship because the injunction would not allow it to take effect until that time period, right? The question I think that's on everybody's mind, and the questions that I'm seeing that are posted is, well, what happens to people that are not part of those lawsuits? Right? If the CASA case set aside the injunction for everybody else, well, then it doesn't apply to them. So that means after the 27th, when the executive order goes into effect, if there's not an injunction that covers everybody else, then they're subject to the executive order. Right? So that's kind of where we sit today, except for that New Hampshire wrinkle that just kind of happened. So that's important to understand as well. The class action lawsuit was identified in the CASA order. That was the procedural order that happened at the Supreme Court level. And it said, look, one of the reasons we're setting aside the nationwide injunction is because you could get that if you filed a class action suit, right? You could get to that. And because the plaintiffs filed individually, they cannot have a nationwide injunction. But if they certify a class, that class would apply to the entire nation, and then a nationwide injunction would be in effect for that executive order until the case was heard. So right now, that New Hampshire case just came through. The class was certified, and the court issued the injunction, and now they're waiting for the government to respond. They have some time to respond. So there is a possibility in that case that maybe they're protected, but maybe not. We just don't know immediately.
And just a point of clarification off of what Josh had just mentioned, the class is a group of people that litigation is tailored for. Here, the class is specifically the children only. It doesn't apply to the parents. It doesn't apply to any other party other than the babies that are born when this particular order would go into effect.
And so I request Mr. Santosh Somireddy to throw some light on this issue.
Yeah, I think let me know if you're not able to understand me properly because of my throat. I think a lot of people have this question. The New Hampshire case, right? So the judge has issued a temporary injunction order throughout the country, right? So how did they make this happen while the Supreme Court held that you cannot issue a nationwide injunction on the birthright citizenship? Like, how did they bypass the requirement in order to obtain the nationwide injunction? I think that's one of the questions that a lot of people were asking. And is it going to withstand? Like, is the government going to appeal it? How much time do they have? And when would we know whether that injunction is going to stand? Josh,
I think the government will certainly appeal it because the government's argument right now from the Attorney General is that there isn't a class action lawsuit in this case is not appropriate. That there's no standing for a class action lawsuit and it can't be filed, and there can be no nationwide injunction. They've said that pretty consistently. I think they will try to fight it. Whether the court, how they rule on that is anyone's guess. But I would say, I think that the this would proceed, my guess would be proceed up through the appeals, go back to the Supreme Court, and they would issue that a nationwide injunction is appropriate in a class action lawsuit because it's a federal case, right? And so it should apply to the whole nation.
Okay.
Worst
So
case
Josh,
scenario.
okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm sorry.
I was going to say worst case scenario, if the class action suit cannot be filed, right? What that means is that everybody has to file individually. What that means is that instead of there being one case that covers everybody who's pregnant and would be subject to the executive order, you would have thousands of cases. Each person would have to file their own individual case and get their own individual protection so that they could try to set aside that order, at least as far as the injunction goes. Now, if there's a case that wins, right, that could set precedent for everybody else. But it's going to take some time to get there. And, it may be up in the air until we see some of these cases reach the end.
And just as a point of,
Josh, do you think I'm sorry, Vijay, were you saying something?
yeah, I was just going to say, I think a lot of questions are coming. If I live in one state, if I move to another state, will that make a difference? Well, so based on the New Hampshire injunction, if your baby is born and qualifies under this, the executive order, then they would potentially be a class member. Since that class is certified, this nationwide injunction, if it is upheld, will protect them regardless of what state they reside, as they become a member of that class that's being litigated. But if you do not qualify for that class, or as Josh mentioned, the class gets rejected or this case gets dismissed for some reason, then individual cases would need to be filed for your baby specifically in order to qualify. And it doesn't matter at that point what state you're in, it's just you need to file a case.
So Vijay and Josh, just to repeat whatever you said, right? So even if for some, but now we have the New Hampshire case, that's going to help every a mother, every expected mother, right? Even if that case, for some reason, even if that case is appealed and reversed, right? They still have an option of filing individual lawsuits and getting an injunction, right? So they don't have to worry about their children not losing their citizenship status or not getting US citizenship status.
That's correct.
Right? And what are the chances of winning on the merits of the case?
I mean, it's anybody's guess, but I think there's very good chances. The Trump, the executive order makes a statement that this has not been historically how we've done citizenship, right? They say that this has never been done, which I don't agree with. There's a long historical precedent that citizenship has been granted based on birthright. So I think there's a pretty good chance of eventually winning this case. But I will say, with trial, it's uncertain. We can never give a guarantee as to what a certain judge will think or do. Certainly, cases have surprised me many times in the past where I thought it was certain to go one way and it went another, right? So we see things like that happen all the time. There is not a promise that can be made at this point, but I think there's very, very good chance of protecting the rights of these children if people take legal action when they should and do the things that they need to. I see a lot of questions coming in that are kind of like, well, how do we know, right? How do we know if we qualify? How do we get involved in the class? Do we need to file individual suits? And my suggestion would be quite a number of people are existing clients on the call and some are potential clients. I would suggest you get in touch with our law firm so that we can kind of direct you from there. Like our job is to make sure people are protected. So if that means directing you into the class, we can help you with that. If that means filing individual lawsuits, we can probably help with that as well. But that may be the best way to do it at this point because there's so much legal uncertainty that's happening and that's going to change over the next several weeks as well. So somebody's got to keep an eye on that. It's that's our job. That's what lawyers do.
And just as
So Josh, somebody is asking, like there was one person, he was saying, hey, there are the agencies like ACLU and all that are fighting in order to get the injunction order. Are there any other Indian groups that are doing something like this? So to answer your question, actually, we were planning to file the same lawsuit that was filed in New Hampshire. And just a few hours ago, we came to know that this has been filed and now there's an injunction order. That's why we are holding off for some time, right? In case if the order stays after 1 week, then we will not proceed with another filing. If for some reason, if it's rejected, then we will go ahead and file another lawsuit wherein we will be making all the members as part of it, right? This might require us to file lawsuits in different states, and we are willing to do that one. So before, like until a few hours ago, one of the main reasons for this call is to get a list of all the people so that we can at least help you in filing your injunction orders so that you are protected, right? But now with this, with the New Hampshire case, the issue is moot until we hear back from the appeals court. If the case is appealed.
And I do want to clarify a couple of points. I think some of the questions that are coming in address this or actually want clarification on this. So the present New Hampshire case only applies. So who qualifies for the class? It's babies who are born to legal residents, not resident aliens, but legal people who have come into the United States legally. So if you're undocumented, that particular litigation does not apply to you.
So will the child be the deported if they don't get the birthright citizenship usually?
Well, I don't know if depends on what the parent status is, right? If they're legally in the United States, I'm sure they'll have some dependency that they can apply for. They'd have to get citizenship in their specific country where they're from.
It does. I mean, it raises a particular question. That's one of the problems with this whole line of reasoning that the Trump administration has put forward is it essentially makes some of these children stateless.
Yeah.
Right. If they're from a country that doesn't recognize their citizenship based on their parents, then and they're born in the United States, it kind of puts them in this gap where they don't have a home country. And that's one of the questions that's raised is, you know, this turns everything upside down on how we view citizens in this country, and it has pretty far-reaching effect for these children that are unborn. So that's a concern of everybody trying to protect immigrants here, is that it creates unnecessary hardship, I think, for them. Some of the questions I'm seeing relate to state-by-state analysis. You know, I'm from this state, does it apply? This state didn't file. I think it's worth noting that this is a federal issue, right? This is a nationwide issue because it's a constitutional issue. So ultimately, it's going to be decided according to constitutional law. Ultimately, we'll hopefully, have some sort of clarity on it nationwide. What the real concern right now is with the injunction. Right? How far does the injunction extend? Right? In the CASA case, it just extends to the litigants that are in the case. The New Hampshire case is now making the case, well, it's a class action lawsuit that applies nationwide. Therefore, the injunction should apply nationwide. And that's what they're arguing. So again, we have to wait for some time to see how we proceed with our clients. Our class action suit was all, drafted, ready to be filed. And then this New Hampshire one came out. So it's better strategically to wait and see what happens there before we make any moves.
Yeah.
And if anyone
Josh,
has
a very good question from one of the audiences. He's asking, what about the 22 states that already got the protection? Right? Will the babies get citizenship or not after July 27th?
So they didn't. It was 22 states that filed. Right, but they filed on behalf of, just like generally, but within also along with those 22 states, you had individual litigants that filed. Those individual litigants are the only ones that got the injunction because the Supreme Court in the CASA case overturned it and said it doesn't apply to anybody but them. So there is no protection for those 22 states.
Yeah.
So that's
does it cost to be part of these kids? Right now, there is you don't have to worry about anything because if the New Hampshire state case stands as is, then we have nothing to worry.
I think, when you talk about cost too, it's hard to say without knowing exactly where we're at. Right now, it doesn't cost anything to contact us and let us know who you are and what your situation is. And then we can kind of determine whether you would fall into the class if it proceeds, whether you need to file individually. Though that analysis has to be made at some point for every client. And so once you decide that, then you can kind of determine what it's going to cost to move forward. But I will say this, I know our law firm, and there are probably many more that are doing this, are concerned mainly about protecting the rights of immigrants, right? That's the goal. So, costs to be part of a lawsuit that protects your constitutional rights will be as minimal as possible. I mean, the goal is to offer as much protection as we can for as little money as we can do.
And if you want to be heard and want to get some advice from us, or you want to schedule a consultation, or even find out if you qualify for any of these classes, or if we can assist you with that, best way to get a hold of us is through BRC litigation at somireddylaw.com. Again, this is BRC litigation at somireddylaw.com.
So one final question, sir. So for example, like if the child is born today, he's not been issued the passport. So what are the legal action we can take?
So you could technically file writ of mandamus, right? So we could technically file if the child is born today, and if the UPS or the USPS, like if they're not issuing the passport, go ahead and file writ of mandamus. Okay, based on my understanding, they are actually issuing passport, because if not, people would have already filed writ of mandamus by now.
That's true.
Yeah. So in case if that happens, just go ahead and file writ of mandamus, because the person is born today and they didn't go into effect, so they should get the passport. Once they get the passport, the issue is moot.
Is there any chance like the passport gonna get cancelled retroactively?
No.
No.
Once they issue the citizenship, I don't think they can take it away.
I will say though, and this is maybe a little tongue in cheek, but I've been very surprised by this administration overall. So this lawsuit alone surprises me. So whether they try to do that in the future, I don't know. I mean, that's anyone's guess, but they could surprise us. And I mean, that's why you have lawyers, right? To protect us against those type of constitutional violations. But could we see that? Sure, maybe an attempt could happen, but it hasn't so far, and I don't anticipate it.
Yeah, and at least right now, it doesn't seem like they want to go that route, because the order, the executive order is not retroactive, right? It's
correct,
effective from 30 days out. So I don't think that's their intent behind it. I think it's just to prevent future citizenship.
Okay. So one of the keys in like supporting these executive orders in court is for them to be pretty narrowly tailored, right? They have to be, they're not going to blow the door wide open to start taking people's citizenship and apply to anybody who's in the country for any reason. The broader it is, the more difficult it is for them to defend it. So they've narrowed it, and then they're going to try to defend just on those points.
Is there any other thing to add, sir?
So just to conclude, right? One thing, I don't want anyone to panic on this one, okay? Because there is a very, 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 very high chance that the Supreme Court is going to rule in favor of issuing the birthright, okay, at the end of the day. They could be having a lot of challenges in the meantime because of procedural issues and all, but ultimately, I don't think it's easy for the administration to implement such regulation. Of course, you may see some hiccups in the middle, but I would not worry too much about it.
I've seen a few questions about what the class contains. So to clarify, in the New Hampshire case, the class is for people who are in the country legally, right, and are having a child, and the class then is the child, right? They're suing on behalf of the child, but you have to be in the country legally, and the child is not yet born. So if you're in that situation, you are likely to be in the class. Obviously, there are a lot of intricacies that are involved with assessing whether you're part of the class or not, and that's why reach out to us and we can help with that.
Even if for some reason the class, like if the New Hampshire case is overturned, you can just go ahead and file your individual lawsuits.
Correct.
And seek injunction. So you have nothing to worry.
So, Attorney Santosh, can you please explain me what exactly is a class action here? So you're not able to understand what exactly does that mean.
Yeah. So basically what they're trying to do is, instead of multiple people bringing the same kind of lawsuit, right, which has a similar facts, what the civil procedure allows you to club in a group of individuals, right, who have the same circumstances, right? So for example, any individual who is currently present in the US legally, right? They all become one class, right? So in mentioning every candidate, like for example, Sai is here on so and so visa, Gopal is here on so and so visa, Santosh is here on so and so visa, all that stuff, right? So you make it as a class, right? And the judge is going to, because the situation is the same for everybody in that particular class, the judge is going to hear the case for that particular class instead of hearing individual cases. So whatever the decision is issued, it'll be for that particular class.
And so one more question. So for example, if I'm a resident of the Indiana, so where I completed my law school there, where for example, if the Somireddy Law Group is filing a lawsuit in the New Jersey, so can I join in the class action suit in the New Jersey?
Good question. Good question. So if, for example, if you're filing the case in New Jersey, right? As long as we have some members from New Jersey, we can join people from other states into that class action. So that should not be.
So usually what are the documents do I need to submit if I want to file the lawsuit in the future?
Good. The first one of the few documents, right, regarding your state, the mother's status, right, and that they are expected mother. Any documentation to prove that. Apart from that, we don't need much information.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also a statement that the father is not a US citizen or a green card holder.
And so with your permission, can we take the questions from the audience?
Sure.
So Mr. Gopal, can you please take the questions?
Thank you, Sai. Thanks, everyone. So there are a lot of questions which need to be answered, I guess. The first question is, do you suggest flying to other states to deliver the baby? Santosh, sir?
No, it doesn't make any difference. If right now, there is no issue because of the New Hampshire case, right? If something changes in the next 1 week, then go ahead and file your individual suit. That's it. Or be a part of class and then file it.
Okay. So just since you're licensed in Virginia, is there any chance that current lawsuits
You're licensed in 14 states, okay?
Yeah.
And we, like, once, as I mentioned, right, once we have a class from one particular state, we can join everybody else into that particular class.
Yeah, it's worth noting that this is a federal issue. So this is a nationwide issue. It's a constitutional issue. The case is filed in the federal court in a particular jurisdiction. So it's filed in, say, the New Jersey federal court, right? But it's a nationwide case because it is US constitutionally based, right? So if the class is certified, then it would be a nationwide class.
Can you please explain me the examples? So by taking some hypothetical situation, yeah, so that's going to be better for us.
Yeah, so hypothetically, if the New Hampshire injunction is upheld, anybody who falls in the class, and it would be anybody that is similar to the class that's been filed, and there are certain parameters in the case for that, would fall into the class and be protected by the injunction. If the injunction is not upheld, right, then it's possible to file a separate class action lawsuit. We could consider doing that. It's always possible to file individual lawsuits and appeal for injunctions there as well. And those individual lawsuits would be filed in the federal court where the plaintiff resides. So if the client is in Texas, it would be filed there. If they're in Ohio, it would be filed there. It's still a federal case, but then the injunction would just apply only to them.
There's one question, Josh, where most of them are from Virginia, I guess. So can you please explain the options for the people expecting a child in Virginia who are non-permanent residences? And will Supreme Court be able to take away birthright citizenship through lawsuit without the House or change in the Constitution?
So let me unpack that because you've asked a couple different questions. First, the Supreme Court doesn't take away citizenship at all. All they're doing is ruling on the constitutionality of the executive order, right? Ruling whether the Trump administration can do this under the Constitution or they cannot, right? That's all they're doing. So it would be the Trump administration that would be removing, and they're not removing citizenship, but preventing further birthright citizenship under a certain set of circumstances. That's what they're doing with the executive order. As far as what a Virginia resident can do, Again, I think that the best thing to do is kind of contact us, because we need to assess each individual person and watch what's happening with this class action lawsuit in New Hampshire to decide what the best way to advise clients are. But your options are this: if it goes forward, we would recommend that you be part of the class and wait and see, because the injunction would apply to you and ultimately the opinion would apply to you. If the class doesn't move forward, or there's some issue with the certification of the class or the injunction, then we can file a separate class action lawsuit that would include our clients, whether from Virginia or somewhere else, or we could file individual lawsuits, whether it be our clients from Virginia or elsewhere. So the best thing to do is contact us and let us know your situation, and then we can direct you from there.
Yeah. So Josh, I think a lot of people are asking if they are from different states, can they be part of the class action?
Yes, because it's a federal case, they would be part of the class action.
So somebody was asking if they're from Texas, or they're asking whether we're licensed in Texas, Florida, and all that stuff. So guys, we are licensed in 14 states, but it does not matter where we are licensed. If we are able to get the class certification from one of the district courts, that is sufficient. We can include everyone else from all 50 states into the class action, including Florida, Texas, every other state. So somebody was asking, how can I join the class action lawsuit? Okay, so we were about to file it, but now that because of the New Hampshire case, we are holding off on that until we hear back from the court, right? So if everything goes smooth, then we will not file this. If it doesn't go through, then we will have to immediately file for another injunction. So that is one of the reasons why we are asking you to provide your information. I would recommend that you send us an email with the following information about yourself. First, provide the name of the mother, the expected mother. Maybe make a note of this one. We need the name of the expected mother, her email address, phone number, state of residence, and status.
So do we need the information regarding the expected due date of the baby?
Yeah, that will also help.
And there are a couple of people who raised their hands. I would like to allow them to speak, sir, so that it would be better for them to also listen. So I'll allow Vibha to talk. Vibha, you can go ahead and ask the questions to the attorneys.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So firstly, I would like to thank everyone for uh, uh, arranging this kind of session. So we're in such a dilemma, like what to do and all. Oh, thanks everyone. Thanks Santosh Reddy and Sai Srinivas Reddy, Vijay, Josh, Gopal. I appreciate it very much. So my question is, so we are expecting baby in October. The expected date is like October 21st, and we are staying in Florida. And I'm on H1B, and my wife is on H4. So the question is like, yeah, you made it already clear that if we want to move to other state also, it is not promising that my baby will get citizenship and all. So what other options, like we want to be part of this class action, so is there any particular deadline uh, that we make sure to join that class action suit?
So there's not a particular deadline, but like any legal action, I would suggest you move quickly to protect your rights, right? The best thing you can do is contact our law firm. The email address is there posted in the chat. Contact the law firm, give the information, and we can let you know from there what to do.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So it would be Rajesh who will be speaking next. Rajesh, you can go ahead, unmute yourself, and please ask your questions to the attorney.
Hey, hey guys, thanks a lot for your time and support in this cases, right? So my question is, So we are due like pretty much 30th of this month and 1st of August, right? Like 2 weeks, but pretty much 3 weeks from now. And we live in Texas. Any chance of? I mean, we'll hear from this uh, new class action one. But if it gets withdrawn, then what is my best class of action? I need to move to other state, which is
No, no,
Democrat.
no, no,
Yeah.
not moving to other state. If that happens, then
Yeah.
you file an individual lawsuit to get the injunction or become part of the lawsuit.
And the lawsuit, because we are like as a due 3 weeks in, right? The lawsuit should be
It
filed
can be
before the
filed.
baby,
It
obviously,
can be
right?
filed because this will be like with the preliminary injunctions, so this will be heard quickly. That should be fine, Rajesh.
They
We'll
should
get to
be
know
filed.
more.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot for.
Because now you cannot file it because the issue is moot.
Once this is taken out, once the issue
Yeah,
is
once if it
reverted,
is taken, for some reason, if they take it out, then yes. And that is the reason why we are keeping this on hold because we have everything drafted and all. So we were just going to correct the information so that we could file it. But now, because of this lawsuit, we kept it on hold. So if something were to go wrong, we should be able to file this quickly as long as we have all the information from the
okay.
class.
And the individual lawsuit don't have to be answered, or they need to be answered before the baby is born for the passport to be issued.
So I want to clarify too. Theoretically, you could file your own suit. You don't have to be part of the class, right? But the cost and expense and time to do it would be on you only. There's a big advantage to be part of the class in that it doesn't, it reduces cost because the class shares the cost. They share the litigation cost. So we're trying not to put clients in a situation where they have to shoulder their own lawsuits. If we can avoid that, that's for everybody. So that's a goal. But theoretically, you can file your own lawsuit. We can do that.
But the class action, right? Even if individual class suit, will they be answered, or the class action they should be answered before the baby is born? If it is
It's supposed to be answered in the, correct me if I'm wrong, Vijay, but next 7 days, right?
Yeah, so the federal government has 7 days to appeal the order from the New Hampshire court. And once they file their appeal or their opposition, the court's going to make a ruling. So before the end of the month, I anticipate there's going to be some clarity on this.
okay.
And as far as Rajesh, to answer your question, should you file this before the baby's born? I think it'll be easier for you to file it after the baby's born because technically you don't have standing until the baby's born.
Okay. So even after born, we can still do that individual or class, whatever it is later, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for your help.
So it's affordable to everybody else.
Got it.
So once again,
you can go ahead, Srinivas. Sorry.
So Santosh, sir, for example, if the Somireddy Law Group wants to file a class action, so what is the suit? So venue you going to choose usually? So would you mind sharing with us?
There are a few things that we'll be looking at when choosing the venue. Number one is we will see who appointed that particular judge, right? So we want to make sure it's a judge that is going to be favorable in issuing the injunction, and most probably because either it will be New Jersey or Virginia. Virginia is tough. We would most probably file it in New Jersey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question was similar to that. So if in case if this New Hampshire things doesn't work in our behalf and we are going to file a lawsuit on behalf of everyone, like a category, like that's what you're telling, like class, right? So if we do that, so should we appeal like in person, we have to come to that state, or else you will take care of everything on our behalf?
So
we will be the ones having.
Yeah, and just to further clarify, if it's an individual case, you are the representative for the case. So you would need to be there and it would be in your jurisdiction, right? Because if it's an individual case, it has to be in the jurisdiction where you are. Whereas if it's a class, there's going to be one class member who is the leader of the class. They represent the entire class. That's a class representative. Whoever that individual is, that'll act on behalf of everyone in the class. Typically, that class member is going to be from the jurisdiction. For example, if you file in New Jersey, that member is going to be from New Jersey. That New Hampshire case has about 4 class representatives that are all from New Hampshire, but they have people from all over the country in the class. So to answer your question, maybe you have to be present if you're doing an individual matter, but if it's, and it'll be in your state, but if it's a class, then, if you're the class representative, then you need to be present, otherwise no.
Okay, thank you.
So somebody's asking this question again. I think there's some confusion. They're asking who all are covered under the particular 22 states injunction.
Can go ahead, G.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, thank you everyone for hosting this. My real quick question was, for example, my wife is current. We were due for December, end of December. My wife used to be on a H1, but she filed a change of status a month back. That would be for for H4. That's in process right now, and it's in the pending ongoing thing. Uh, Considering the status wise, like say for example, Scottish rules out saying that something, okay, this is applied for only the documented folks. Will that be anything, or someone suggests
No, no,
us
no.
to get
So
back to the
she is
H1?
considered as she is considered to be legally present in the US, so she has nothing to worry.
Thank you so much, Santosh.
I know a lot of people are sending information on the chat, their personal information. Please just send that information to brclitigation@somireddylaw.com, not in chat, please.
Snehalata, you can please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi everyone, thank you for hosting this session. So I am actually due in mid-August. So like you mentioned, if the Supreme Court has any objection with the New Hampshire's decision, they should respond in a week. So if they do not respond in a week, what are the chances of anything else new coming up after that?
So just to clarify, the Supreme Court is not making any decision on this New Hampshire case. It's the New Hampshire District Court judge who gave, before the order goes into effect, gave the federal government a chance to oppose what the plaintiffs have brought forth and the judge's potential decision, right? So the Supreme Court's not going to be involved this quickly. It'll probably be months before the Supreme Court will be involved. So if the New Hampshire District Court says yes, after hearing the federal government, they say, yes, we're going to allow this national or injunction to stay and this national class to survive, then I'm sure the federal government will appeal it to the Supreme Court or to an appellate court before the Supreme Court. So this process can take a long time, but until the Supreme Court makes a ruling in that scenario, that injunction will stay. So any babies that are born while that injunction is in effect, in theory, would be citizens. But if the district court in New Hampshire listens to the arguments from the federal court and decides, no, that's not what we're going to do, maybe this class shouldn't be legal, then individual lawsuits would need to be filed, unless the ACLU then appeals that and then goes to the Supreme Court and gets a ruling. Again, that can take months. So it all depends on what happens in the next few weeks, and it's not a Supreme Court decision, and it's not final. There still could be appeals on whatever decision comes out from New Hampshire.
So if the Supreme Court says, comes up maybe a few months later and says this class is not valid, the children born within that time period who were a part of the class should have to again file individual lawsuits. Is that what you mean?
Individual lawsuits or class, limited class lawsuits.
So even if they are already born, they still have to go back and file. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Right.
Hi. So like my spouse and myself lost our job a month back. So now my spouse H1B has been got approved, but it's starting from October 1st. So in the meanwhile, we are on B2 status. So if we want to be part of any class action or individual litigation, so our status will be any additional complications, or we can also be added to the lawsuit.
You should be fine, Vignesh. I don't see any problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kitty, you can please go ahead.
Yes. So, for suppose if I file a lawsuit, so how much time does it take the injection gets applied? Here, or do you want me to repeat my question?
Yeah, my understanding is you said if you file an individual lawsuit, how long would it take to get an injunction for you individually, right?
Yes.
So typically the injunction, the request for injunction is filed immediately when we file the lawsuit. We follow immediately or shortly after with the request for injunction. That's heard very quickly. The idea of an injunction is to give some temporary relief until the case is ultimately decided, right? So that's usually filed pretty quickly, and you get that injunction. Then from there, the case proceeds until it's finally resolved. That's how it works.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you.
We'll take a couple of more calls, sir. There are many of them waiting to talk to you guys, but I'll take another 4 calls. So INC, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, sorry, this is Hari. I think I have my question has been answered. Like, I live in Texas, so how early I have to be a part of lawsuit because my wife she's due in the month of January. So, what do you suggest? Like, how before how many days she would be part of that lawsuit would be better?
I think at this stage, you should just reach out to either our firm or any attorney and just see what's going on with your case. But I think right now, everyone kind of is wait and see on what happens in New Hampshire by the end of the month. And then once that kind of decision comes out, then we can figure out what happens to your specific scenario. At this stage, it's wait and see. And yours is also, we're looking at January. So it may be a completely different landscape by that time frame, and there may even be a Supreme Court ruling on this national injunction for a national class. So we'll just have to wait and see. Unfortunately, it's so far out; it's hard to give you a clear answer today. So right now, I would say just wait and see. But feel free to reach out to our firm so we can kind of keep track of you in case something comes up. We can let you know.
Sounds good. Thank you, Vijay.
Sure.
Arjun, please go ahead with your questions.
Hi. Thank you for hosting this, everyone. Okay, so I think most of the questions are answered. But just in case, right, Santosh, if at all next week it doesn't go well, whatever the class action suit filed by in New Hampshire, so what are the legal options exist for us to challenge or appeal the denial of birthright citizenship? Okay, for example, let's say we are expecting in August first week, and by that time, the class action should gets denied, and then just we we go forward for the delivery, and then just if I don't get the birthright citizenship for my baby, do I have an option to challenge that or to appeal the denial?
Yeah, definitely, Arjun, because that's a pure violation of 14th Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what Josh was discussing in the beginning, right? This is like right now, everything is happening on the procedural issues, not on the actual substance of the case itself. None of the courts have actually reviewed the actual substance of the case. Everything that's happening is based on the procedural things.
Got it. Makes sense. Thank you, Santosh, for
So
clarifying.
there is a high chance that you would will on the actual facts of the case itself.
Oh, okay. But just in case, right, Santosh, like if at all if this goes as per Trump administration expectation, right? Then if we try to challenge it, okay, by appealing, right? What would be the timeline? Because during the birth, baby may not have the citizenship, but when I file the case to appeal,
Once
and
you're able
how
to
long
achieve
does
the
it?
case, then she can get the baby can get the citizenship.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Thank you, Santosh. Thanks for clarification.
Yeah.
And
Is there anything went wrong?
I think it got disconnected, sir, and we have Shweta who would like to ask you questions.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Sweta. So I have a quick question. So just in case if you're part of the lawsuit, and assuming that we get the injection, so will we be able to apply the birth certificate for the baby and apply for the passport while the injection is being issued?
Birth certificate will be issued no matter what, right? So birth
Okay.
certificates are issued by the hospitals. That is not a problem. So even if this goes into effect, the birth certificate will be issued. The only issue is whether the authorities are gonna issue a passport to the person who is born, right? The
Mhm.
injunction is on the issuance of the citizenship certificate or a passport,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So if you already have an injunction and if they don't issue the passport, then you will file a writ of mandamus forcing them to issue the passport.
Okay. Makes sense.
If they have, somebody was asking about postal security number. If they have the passport, then everything is covered. We have nothing to worry about social security number or anything like that.
So I have a small doubt here. So for example,
Yeah.
so I come from in India. So we do have an Aadhaar card. So do you have the similar kind of cards here in order to identify ourselves as a US citizens?
No. Usually the SSN card will say unauthorized, like unrestricted work authorization, or they can get a passport.
Anurag, please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, thank you again for like this informative webinar. It was really helpful. Most of my questions are answered, but just to reiterate some of the things. We are due first week of August from Georgia. So any documentation that we need to keep ready like beforehand, if we need to act individually, like what steps should we take before the baby is born?
Anurag, for now, all we want you to do is email that information that I have requested, right? If something got to go wrong with the New Hampshire case, immediately we'll be sending emails to all the candidates. We have to prepare, but before we do that, we'll probably sort them out by the states that they're residing in, and then we'll make a decision whether we're going to be filing it individually or we'll be filing it in multiple states or one state. So there are a lot of things that we have to decide. So for us to do that, we need all this information.
Sure, yeah, definitely we'll share that in the email.
And
So
the more
yes,
number of candidates that we have, the better it is, because the cost is going to go down if you have more number of candidates.
okay. And so nothing to be done beforehand. I mean, except for from
No,
sending us
nothing.
email.
See, we may not even need to file this case, right? If everything is settled, we don't even have to file this.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for that clarity.
Yep.
Ramya, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Hi, thank you for everyone to hosting this. It's very great information which we have got today. And here, I stay in Virginia, so where is there is no lawsuits filed, and the nearby state which we have is Maryland, which is filed. So actually, before joining to this call, we were planning to move into the state and planning to process. So from your session, we came to know that there is no matter where the state we live in, and so as we live in Virginia, so as you said, Virginia is very tough to get class action should to be filed, and I'm the only breadwinner for my home. So we are thinking how affordable it's going to be if we file the case individually.
Yeah, I cannot answer that question as to the cost, Ramya, as of now, because we don't know what will be like. See, it all depends upon these decisions, right? Whether they'll allow us to do it as a class action or individual or uh, whatever, right? So more like we, I don't know how to say this, but we will try to keep it reasonable, but since it's a federal court, yes, there will be costs associated. But I don't think you'll have to file it individually. You'll probably file it as a group at least.
Okay. Thank you. I think that sounds good to me. Thank you.
And
there's one important question somebody posted. What happens if a class action initially wins a permanent injunction to block an order restricting birthright citizenship, but later loses the case on its merits? Will the babies born during the injunction period still get the citizenship? That's a very good question.
Yeah,
That's really a good question.
If it loses on the merits, then most likely not is the answer. If the injunction is later revoked by the Supreme Court saying it's not valid, similar to what happened in Trump v. Casa, then they may still have a shot because their child was born during the time of the pendency of the executive order. So they will still be valid citizens. But the kids that are born that during the pendency of that litigation, and the litigation ends up failing on the merits of the case, saying basically there is no birthright citizenship or something like that, and the Supreme Court makes that ruling, then I think they may not have that citizenship. And I don't know if the court's going to go back and retroactively. Historically, they have not done it in other rulings as well. I don't think they're going to do that here, but there's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. So, Vijay, basically what you're saying to say is, if the baby is born while the injection is still in place, then they are covered. But if the baby is born after the injection order time has expired, then if they lose it on the merits, then they're out of luck.
Yeah, and potentially they can go back and change it for the babies that were born based on that litigation, but I really don't think so. I think the chances of that are very low.
Yeah.
So I can see one of the question here.
Just to give you an advice, if the baby is born while the injunction is in place, go ahead and apply for their passport immediately. Don't wait. Okay, and if they do not allow you to, if they do not issue a passport, just go ahead and file a writ of mandamus.
Yeah, we'll take one more last call, sir, from Ramakrishna Konakanchi. Please go ahead and ask your question.
I'm his wife. I'm on F1 and my husband is in H1. My due date is in September. Do I already included in the class of New Hampshire, or do I need to do anything new?
Right now, you're included until something as long as that New Hampshire case remains as is.
Okay, thank you. If that was the judge said no for it, if you're gonna file something, will I can be add on the new case?
Yeah.
And I think it's important, whether you qualify for the New Hampshire case now or not, it's a good idea to reach out to us. I know the contact information is being shared, brclitigation@somireddylaw.com. This helps us keep you updated on what's going on. And if we need to qualify for individual classes for each state, then, the more people we have, I think one of the earlier questions were that how much is it going to cost? Well, I think if we are able to do a class, more people there are, think about it. If it costs X dollars and you split it among 50 people, it's going to be, 1/50th of the cost. If we're only doing it for an individual, you're paying 100% of the cost. So if you give us the information, and if we feel like there's a class in your state and we have to do it and the New Hampshire case fails, then we'll certainly include you in that class if you qualify and keep your costs down.
It also is worth noting that reaching out to us at that email address doesn't cost you anything at this point. Right? We're not going to charge you. We're not going to send you a bill for that to reach out and give us the information. What we're going to do is keep you informed. And when it's time to move forward on something, we'll inform you at that time what it will cost and how you need to move forward. So it won't be a surprise to you. And you can decide at that point what you want to do.
Yeah, thank you for it. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
So we almost crossed one hour, and I would request you to give some suggestions or anything you want to share with the audience. All three of you.
Sure. Well, I think at this point it's a waiting game. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but we just wait and see. But what you can do to protect yourself, reach out. right? Reach out to our firm, reach out to anyone you feel comfortable with. Obviously, brclitigation@somireddylaw.com is a good way. Josh mentioned we're not going to charge you for just sending us an email. And then we'll let you know if there's any updates. We'll keep you posted. If there's anything we can do to help you, we certainly will. Certainly, it's not something to really worry about right now. And I really think the Supreme Court is not going to allow this to be sustained in the long term. It may be a little bit of a headache in the next few months, but long term, I think we're all going to be fine. So just make sure you keep track of what's going on in the news, and just send us the information, and we'll keep you apprised as well.
Josh, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Vijay covered it. That's exactly what I would say. Reach out to us. It doesn't cost you anything. We'll keep you updated. If we need to file, we'll let you know. This is something I always tell clients. You create a lot of worry when you try to read all this stuff and understand it yourself. And sometimes, listening to friends and things, you get it wrong, right? Trust us. We're attorneys. This is our job, is to protect people that are in vulnerable situations, to protect constitutional rights. And we do that for our clients, and we're happy to do it. Our goal is to make sure we protect the community, that the immigrants that are here in the U.S. are important to us. So reach out to us and let us do our job to inform you and protect you as much as we possibly can.
Thank you, Josh. And lastly, Santosh sir, your words, please.
I would like to congratulate all the expectant parents. And these are very precious. It is very precious time for you. So please do not stress out and stress your wives. So just stay calm. Everything will settle down. It's just a matter of time. And I'm very much positive that Supreme Court is going to rule in favor of the issuing citizenship when it comes to merits of the case. So this is all temporary. So I don't want you to really worry about it too much, but it's better to be cautious. So reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you in whatever way we can.
Thank you, sir. And for all the viewers, please follow us on our social media. And as said by our attorneys, if you have any more questions, please email us to brclitigation@somireddylaw.com. I've posted these messages on the group chats. So if you need any kind of help, we are there to help, and our attorneys are happy to assist you. Sai, with your closing words, we can end this webinar. Sai, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I just want to give some disclaimer here. So the information, the whatever that has been shared by the attorneys here is completely general information purpose only. The answers that has been answered by the attorneys and the discussions presented here does not constitute the legal advice. So please be cautious. And if you have any issues, please have a consultation with us. I would like to personally thank all the attorneys on the panel for taking their time to support and guide us during this time of the hidden crisis. If you have any further questions, the dear audience, if you would like to schedule a consultation with one of an attorney, so either maybe Santosh Haru and Vijay or Josh Haru, we are happy to assist you. Please reach out to us at brclitigation@somireddy.com. Let me repeat once again. That's called brclitigation@somireddy.com. Thank you.
Attorney Josh, Attorney Vijay, and Attorney Santosh Somireddy for taking up this webinar in a short time. And we wish we will update all the clients as well as the audiences in the coming future the same way. And thank you all for joining the call. I think we can end up this call, sir, for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.